Gov. You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
Welcome back, and here's a look at results from more of the local primary races from this week. Both the local district judge races are moving to a runoff. In the 99th District Court, where Judge Bill Souter is stepping down, Cara Darnell and Philip Hayes will go for a second round. Both have experience on the bench. Ms. Darnell's husband, Jim Bob, retiring from the 140th District Court, and two candidates left to replace him, Doug Freitag and Tom Brumman. As with the 99th, there's no Democratic challengers, so whoever wins on May 26th will win their place on the bench. And there is a Democratic challenger this time around for the District 83 spot in the Texas House. Addison Perry Franks moving on to a November election matchup with the incumbent Dustin Burrows. Perry Franks earning 54% of the vote. And let's spend 5 good minutes with someone who will also be vying for a House seat this fall. District 84, Democratic candidate John Gibson. Always good to see you.
Good to be here, Brian.
Unopposed primary for you. Congratulations. Nice and easy this time around. What does someone in your situation do in a campaign in the weeks leading up to this point, knowing that you've got to go on now through November?
Well, up until this point, I've been able to consolidate my contacts list and put together a list of people that I know in terms of supporters, people who would donate to my campaign, people who will be serving as a committee, a steering committee to help me with issues and those kinds of things.
So just basically getting the business end of it sort of out of the way.
Right.
Interesting. So, and I would guess now the campaign kicks into another gear here soon. So what's in the immediate future for the campaign?
Well, in the immediate future, it's going to be getting out and talking to people and speaking about the issues that are important to Lubbock and District 84.
You know, you've joined us here on the show before, but for folks who may not have met you, a tech law school grad, work here in town, a former Republican. Tell the story, if you don't mind, of why you switched to the Democratic Party. What was the impetus of that?
Well, believe it or not, at one time I was the youngest person ever elected to a countywide position in the Harris County Republican Party. I'm originally from Houston. Yeah. And I had, I got involved in politics through my church, like a lot of people in Republican politics do. And I had a fellow Christian challenge me to a fist fight over one of my political views. And that just really floored me. It just really upset me. And I went home and I told my wife, that's it. I'm out of this. I'm not wanting to do anything in politics anymore. It just ruined it for me.
Yeah.
And my wife, who is originally from Muleshoe, I was looking to go to law school, and she said, well, you know, strongly suggested that I come out to Lubbock to go to Texas Tech for law school.
So smart.
Yeah. And so I did. Ended up loving life here. We bought a house and raised 2 sons here.
Yeah. So why now is the time to dig back into a political life?
Well, if you look at our politics, it is infected with a virus, and I'm not talking about the coronavirus. There is a virus of meanness and pettiness that's in our politics. And like I said, I've raised 2 sons here. My older son graduated from Lubbock High and then Georgetown University. He's now doing civil rights stuff with Brian Stevenson, who's in that movie. The movie was about him, Just Mercy. Our younger son, graduate of, or he's about to graduate from Coronado High School and go on to Lubbock Christian. And just part of being a dad is talking to your sons about what's right, about the values that we believe in and the values that are important. And the more I did that, the more I felt like I needed to take a stand politically on things. And the more I did that, you know, politics is one of these things where the more you get involved, it's like the more you need to get involved.
Right.
And so that led me to be the chair of the Lubbock County Democratic Party, because I've seen over the past 30 years, I've seen the Republican Party take this lurch far to the right. And my values have lined up more with the Democratic Party, and I served as chair of the Lubbock County Democratic Party, and then people approached me and asked me if I would run for this position.
Well, give me some goals now. What would you like to see happen? The top 2 things on the list here.
Policy-wise?
Sure.
Well, I'm going to sound like the presidential candidates whenever I say go to www.electjohngibson.com/issues, and you'll see where I stand on the issues on things. But I think the #1 thing I would say is that the Republican Party, that spirit of meanness that I've talked about before, it's an idea or a belief that we're only in it for one group. And I think that whenever you look at my opponent, John Frulla, he's a good man, and I'm not here to make personal attacks. But when it comes to the policies, when it comes to how you govern, I brought along, for instance, a little show and tell thing here.
Okay.
This is a map of the district.
Okay.
Mr. Frullo's district office is in the far southwest part of town. He's not interested in representing the interest of the entire District 84. His interests are with those portions of people that support him, and I believe that as representative, you need to represent all the people. And so that's, I think, one of the main focuses of my campaign is when it comes to all these various issues, the overarching idea is that we need a representative who's representing the entire district and who's interested in what affects the entire district and not just some subset of that district, that being the far right of the Republican Party.
I know local Republicans had precinct conventions this week, and they'll have their county convention coming up. What about for Democrats? What's coming up there?
Ours is coming up Saturday the 21st, I believe. It'll be at Lubbock High.
Okay.
And
anybody can come out and get involved and do any of those things. And
register. If you go to the Facebook page for the Lubbock County Democratic Party, it's got a place there where you can register. You're going to have to register to show up. But go on there and register and then show up at the county convention.
That's how you do that.
Yep.
All right, John Gibson, candidate for House District 84. Good to see you again. We'll see you soon.
Thanks. Good to be here.
And elsewhere, no surprise that Lubbock Congressman Jody Arrington cruised to a decisive win against his primary challenger, the former mayor of Anson, Vance Boyd. Next is a general election face-off with Abilene attorney Tom Watson in November. We spoke with Arrington on election night via Skype from Washington, and I asked him about some of his goals for a third term in office.
You bet. Well, we've got a lot of great opportunities on the trade front. We've opened up new markets and access to new customers, but we've got a bridge from where we are today with the fallout from the China tariff battle to getting to a point where we realize those gains. So we've got to pay close attention because it's very tenuous in ag economies like West Texas. But there are a lot of hope and prospects for a better, brighter future on the horizon there. We just have to stay focused. Infrastructure is going to be important to continue the growth. Healthcare is a drag on the economy. It's a burden on every family, especially working families. I'm heading up the task force to provide solutions for the rural healthcare crisis on the Ways and Means Committee, and I believe we're going to get legislative reform passed out of the House and Senate and to the President this year, so I'm excited about that. Those are some of the big things that we're looking to do. Obviously, you still have to work the front of immigration. That our system's just completely broken, and there are other issues that seem to be perennial, but in terms of the near term, it's infrastructure, it's health care, and it's more trade deals to get our farmers, you know, in a good spot. After the Farm Bill, we were set to do well. USMCA settled things down. China Phase 1 is a big opportunity, but we just the uptake on that it takes time, so we've got a bridge between here and probably sometime, you know, in the next several months.
Your opponent in November telling us recently that he had some concerns about the White House and the administration's handling of the coronavirus scare to this point. What do you say to folks who may be wondering how this potential crisis is being prepared for at the federal level?
I think the president and the administration have done a fantastic job. They've been very proactive in their containment strategies in terms of travel bans and working at the local and state level. They've got the private sector and all the health experts on the public side working together to expedite the development of a vaccine and associated therapies. Right now I think we're well contained and managing it well, and I don't think there's any reason to panic. But I understand why people are anxious until we do get to that place where we have a vaccine and we can control and manage it like we have MERS and SARS flu. So, but the president's done a great job. The markets are always going to respond like this, but I think we'll bounce back and we'll be back on that trajectory of unprecedented growth that we've seen over the last 22 months, which, by the way, has been the largest economic expansion on record for the United States.
Congressman Arrington from election night. Straight ahead, too busy, no time to study the candidates, don't want to stand in line to vote. We'll meet someone to whom just the opportunity to vote is everything. Next on Talking Points.